Hello everyone and welcome to part 1 of the blog clone project, and we are going to start off in this short lecture just setting up our Django project, the application. So it's going to be a single application project blog, and then we will also just do an initial run, make sure everything working. After that we will set up a few files within our application, a couple of urls.py, forms.py, and those typical files that we are going to need for larger scale project. Let's jump to the editor and get started. Here I am at the atom text editor. You can do that on PyCharm also. Before we get started, if anything, we want to make sure we set up some sort of virtual environment. So this is optional. If you don't have any plans on actually uploading the website to the web, then you are just working locally. But it's always a good idea to have a virtual environment. I'm going to be activating one we are always been using, which is my Django.env. Feel free to create a new environment for each project. If you are using the Atom text editor, if you are using the PyCharm, then that PyCharm automatically will create you virtual environment for you. So now this is the step to create a virtual environment in Atom only, Atom text editor. Okay. So here we have this. I will call Django admin here. So Django admin start project after that. Okay. And then whatever you want to call the project, don't call this blog because that's actually going to be the name of our application within the project. So actually you will want to call your project some sort of nickname that correspond to the website itself. For instance, if you were making an Instagram clone, you would call your project Insta or Instagram or Instagram project kind of thing. You would not want to call it something like pictures or messaging. So here what we are going to do is just call it the most basic nickname you can do, which is my site. So we'll say start project my site, and then we are going to see into my site. And if I expand this over here on the left hand tab, I should see my site and then uh, this my site. Remember, we get those kind of dual folders, and we also have managed .py. So within my site only. So I am also going to start my application. So we can call it Django admin, and you can actually do this with Python manage.py as well. But I like doing it though Django admin just to make sure I'm doing everything correctly. And then the only application we will have to the main blogging application that's going to be able to accept posts and comments for the blog. So we will just call it blog. And that's sort of the reason we didn't want you to actually call the project itself blog, because the main application is really blog. So here I have blog ready to go, this application. I'm going to expand blog, and there is a couple more files that I want in here. I want a urls.py file because eventually I am going to need that. So we'll say a few file within blog called urls.py, and then I also plan to create some forms. So again, inside a blog, I will say new file and call it forms.py. Okay, that's really all we need for now. Later on, we will add some template folders, etc. But whenever you add in new application, you always want to make sure that you come to settings.py. Come down, scroll down to where it says install the apps, and make sure that the application that you just created is there. And if you ever get some errors with this whenever you are running your server, make sure that your format is the same as mine. So notice here that I have blog project, my site, and then under my site I have two folder, the blog, all the applications, the project folder, and then you are managed up here. Sometimes it is a little confusing that you have two folders, subdirectory of the exact same name as its parent directory. That's basically how Django does this automatically. So just keep an eye out of for that. Make sure you are in the right my site folder. Once you have done that, let's do what we should always do, which is called python manage.py migrate everything. So we have say python manage.py migrate, hit enter. It's going to run all those migrations. Looks like everything working well. And then we also want to set up our application. So we'll say Python, make migrations, and then call the application we want, which is blog. And that's it. So I need to say Python manage.py, make migration, and then call blog. No changes detected in app blog. As expected, I don't actually have any new models there. So we'll take care of that later on because we have an empty models, but it's always a good idea to do that. And you have probably heard me say this is a million times by now, but I always like to run migrate one more time just to check that it says no changes detected and it says no migrations to apply. Perfect. So let's make sure this actually all works out. I will call python manage.py run server. Okay, it looks like we have no errors here, and I'm going to copy this and bring over my browser and then bring it over my browser space. Here it is, it worked. So congratulations on your first Django powered page. That's exactly what we want. And hopefully by now this whole process of setting up your project, the applications or couples of files you are going to need, doing the migrations and running the actual server, this should all be really familiar to you, and honestly by now you probably have these steps memorized. If you don't, I would encourage you to run through this. You are going to be doing basically every time you start a Python project. Okay, that's it for this lecture. So pretty short one, just getting everything set up, and we'll see you in the next.